So I ordered myself a new fork yesterday to replace my SR Suntour M3030 crap fork. I ordered it off of Jensen, which is usually where I order most of my parts. They're pretty good about their shipping, and they got pretty good prices. I tend to have good experiences with them. So this is the RockShox 30mm stanchion silver TK, I believe. 100mm of travel, which is plenty for what I'm doing on my hardtail. So you got your preload adjustment, your lockout, and then on the bottom here you have this rebound adjustment. You can turn it to the right to loosen it up, or turn it to the left to stiffen it. It's definitely not the best fork on the market, but it's most certainly an upgrade. This fork is about in the $200 range. Let's see what it does. So I'll give you guys some tips on installing this thing once I get it on the bike. But the first thing you're going to want to do is grab your old fork. And this ring is called a crown race. And typically you'll find it pressed onto your steer tube. And you can find these things for about $5 at your bike shop, or maybe even cheaper online. But they're really easy to reuse and pretty easy to get off. There's a specific tool used for this, but you can just use a screwdriver or a blade and a mallet to get this thing off. So you're going to want to take this off, and what I use is a 1.5 inch piece of pipe, and I'll put the ring back on there, and I'll put the piece of pipe over it, and I'll take a mallet once again just to tap it back in there, not too hard, because obviously you don't want to damage this thing, but get it pressed back on there until it's tight, and then you're good to go. Then you can start putting all your bearings back on and your headset and get it going. Some people also like to make a big deal about these star nuts. Again, there's a specific tool for this stuff, but it's really not that difficult to install. You can just put your stem cap bolt through this. Make sure you thread it in all the way to the bottom, and you can tap it in like that with a mallet. Once it gets to the second layer, it'll start to straighten itself out, even if it is a little wedged, but it's really not that big of a deal. I also ordered this 35mm Spank Stem to replace the 45mm stem I have on my bike right now, and I'm really happy with this thing. I think this thing looks great. This is the 2018 Spike model, and it's only like $50 right now, as opposed to the $80 it was when it released. But I think it looks great. I'm going to get that thing on as well. So I've had this fork on for about a day now, and I got to admit I'm really surprised with it. I was trying to keep my expectations low with this, but the truth is it's way better than the fork that came stock on this bike. I took it out to Rockville yesterday and took it through the rock garden and all that. I'm still trying to work out when is the right and wrong time to use the lockout. Obviously, riding down the street and on flat ground and all that, you're gonna have your lockout engaged. But on the downhill, you would turn it off and go with the suspension. But as far as jumping goes and maybe park riding, I'm not too sure how to approach that. But for a $200 fork, I am really, really impressed with how this fork performs. There's that Spank Stem as well, which looks even better on the bike. This is the 2014 Diamondback Trace Sport. It's when these bikes released, I think they retailed for about $499. On any day you can get this bike for $400, but I've seen this bike as low as even $250 when certain companies are doing their sales. I've pretty much nothing on this bike is stock. The only thing left is the seat post and the cranks and the calipers, which I've yet to decide if I want to go hydraulic or not. But I did just order a new 180 millimeter front rotor and the adapter to go from 160 to 180 in the front. So we'll see how that goes. I bought these 27.5 Mavic wheels with Shimano hubs, and I have these Continental Race King 2.2 27.5. They're the Continental Chili Protection tires. I don't know, but all I know is that these tires really perform. They're very fast on the road, and they're very grippy on the trail. And as far as the wheels go, they were about $200, and I haven't had any issues with them. I trued them as soon as I got them, and they haven't gone out of alignment at all since I've had them. And I do ride pretty hard. I replaced the stock bars with these Race Face Chester 760 millimeter bars. I believe it's 9 degrees back sweep, 6 degrees up sweep, 31.8 clamp. Big difference compared to the bars that came stock on this bike. I believe they were 660, so that's 100 millimeters. We'll probably go with the dropper post eventually. That'll be in the future. I'm not too worried about that, to be honest. And of course, this bike was a 3x7, which is obviously a no-go, and I have converted it from the Shimano Altis group set to a Race Face narrow wide 32 tooth chainring and the SRAM GX 10 speed rear derailleur with a very nice clutch and the 10 speed HD 500 Shimano 11 to 38 range cassette. I have really enjoyed this bike since I made that conversion. I've been riding it like that for about a month and a half now, and it absolutely made a huge difference. Not even just the 1x10 itself, but the weight that it lost was just incredible. This thing just throws around like a rag doll. These pedals here were a gift from a friend of mine, and that's another upgrade on this bike that just completely changed the game. They have these metal pins, and any pedal you get that has these pins are going to work. They're pretty large, flat pedals, and I have size 11 feet, and they more than work for me. They're the Crank Brothers Stamp 3. As far as the cranks go, I still haven't decided what I'm going to go with. I'm looking at the Race Face Chesters, of course, which are about a $100 pair of cranks. But I've been seeing these IXF Junali or whatever it is cranks on the internet that pop up on YouTube every once in a while, and they're only like $50 a set. It's the Holotech 2 bottom bracket and all that, and you know, you might as well just spend the money and get the good quality stuff. That's how I see it. But you know, for about half the price, I've heard really good things about it, and even people who ride really hard getting at least 2 years out of them. I haven't made the decision yet, but we'll see what happens. Probably within the next couple weeks here, and then this bike will be pretty close to done. I've ridden bikes my entire life, and but this is my first real mountain bike. Most of my riding was, you know, BMX. I grew up on a skateboard mostly, but there was always a bike around. I've thoroughly enjoyed this bike ever since I got it, and ever since I've got on it, I've just been addicted from day one. Obviously, people would tell you to go for the full suspension for mountain biking, but with the amount of street riding and park riding I do, I am more than at home on this hardtail. So again, being a $400 to $500 hardtail, this is definitely more on the budget end, but with I've got about $1,200 in this bike now, and this bike can more than keep up with the full suspension and the $3,000 bikes that are out there on the trail. And I think it looks really good too. I think those cranks are going to make a big difference as well. I'm really excited to get that done. I also got this specialized hand pump, 90cc I believe. This thing is really good though. You get your tire pumped up in about 12 pumps and you're good to go. So that's my bike. That's the new fork. And we'll see what comes next. Thanks a lot for checking this out, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.